A wealthy business owner made a choice years ago, one that destroyed a woman's career and left her to raise a child alone. After a secret relationship led to an unexpected pregnancy, he wrongfully fired her to protect his reputation. But life has a way of coming full circle. Decades later, the woman's son rises through the ranks and unknowingly lands a job at the very company his estranged father built. When the wealthy man hears the young employee's last name, everything changes. What happens when the sins of the past collide with the ambitions of the present? Amara Grant gripped the edge of the chair in Richard Collins's luxurious office, her knuckles white from the tension. The man seated before her, her boss and secret lover, barely glanced up from his papers. She'd rehearsed this moment countless times, but nothing could prepare her for his reaction. "I'm pregnant," she said softly, her voice trembling. Richard's pen stilled, but he didn't look up. The silence was suffocating. Finally, he leaned back in his chair, his calculating gaze meeting hers. "I see," he said coolly. No shock, no anger, just indifference. Amara swallowed hard. "It's yours, Richard. I thought you should know." His expression didn't change. "Amara," he began, his tone clipped and distant, "this is unfortunate." Her heart sank. "Unfortunate? Is that all you have to say?" He sighed, leaning forward. "You should have been more careful." The words hit her like a slap. Her voice wavered as she replied, "We were careful." "Clearly not careful enough," he interrupted coldly. "And now you're telling me because what? You expect me to do something about it?" Amara's throat tightened. She hadn't planned this far ahead, but she had hoped for compassion, maybe even a shred of decency. "I thought we could figure something out. Together." Richard's gaze hardened. "Figure something out? Amara, I'm married. I have a family, a reputation. This," he gestured between them, "was never supposed to be more than it was." Amara felt the ground shift beneath her. Late nights in his office, whispered promises. It had all been a lie. Gathering what little courage she had left, she said firmly, "I'm keeping the baby." Richard stood and walked around the desk, towering over her. "I can't be involved in this. You know that." "You're just walking away?" she asked, her voice breaking. "I have to," he said, his tone firm, "and so should you." Amara rose from her seat, fury burning in her chest. "I can't just walk away from this, Richard. It's your child, too." His jaw tightened. "Amara, I'm warning you. Let this go. If you make this a problem for me, I'll make sure you regret it." Her heart dropped. "What are you saying?" Richard returned to his desk, his expression icy. "This is your last day at Collins Associates. I've already spoken with HR. "You're firing me because I'm pregnant, because of you?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I'm protecting my family," he replied, "and you should protect yourself." Amara stood frozen, disbelief washing over her. Tears blurred her vision, but she refused to cry in front of him. Without another word, she turned and left his office. By the time she reached the street, the tears fell freely. Jobless, pregnant, and blacklisted, Amara placed a hand on her stomach, vowing to survive for the sake of her child. Decades later, Tyrell Grant stood in front of a mirror, adjusting his tie for the 5th time. Today was his first day at Collins Associates, and his nerves buzzed with excitement. His mother's voice called from the kitchen where she was brewing tea. "Looking sharp, Mom?" he asked, stepping into the kitchen with a grin. Amara glanced up, forcing a tight smile. "Sharp as ever," she said, though her tone was tinged with worry. "You don't seem excited," Tyrell said, his smile fading. "This is Collins Associates. It's huge for us." Amara hesitated, her gaze dropping to the mug in her hands. "Just be careful, Tyrell. That place has shadows." "Shadows?" he repeated, frowning. "It's an opportunity, Mom. I've worked so hard for this." She nodded, her fingers tightening around the mug. "I know. Just promise me you'll be careful." Tyrell kissed her on the forehead, determined to make her proud. "I'll be fine, Mom. Trust me." The Collins Associates building towered above Tyrell as he stepped into the bustling lobby. Everything about the company exuded success. By mid-morning, he was fully immersed in work, eager to prove himself. But when Miss Robinson, his supervisor, informed him that Richard Collins wanted to see him, his heart skipped a beat. Inside Richard's grand office, Tyrell felt small under the CEO's piercing gaze. "Grant, isn't it?" Richard asked, his tone measured. "Yes, sir," Tyrell replied, unsure why the man seemed so interested. Richard leaned back in his chair, studying him. "A strong name," he said vaguely. "Reminds me of someone." Tyrell left the meeting unsettled, but he brushed it off as nerves. That evening, however, when he mentioned Richard to his mother, her reaction told him everything. Tears welled in her eyes as she revealed the truth. Richard Collins was his father. The revelation consumed Tyrell. He couldn't believe the man who had abandoned his mother was the same man he had admired from afar. Fueled by anger, Tyrell confronted Richard at a high-end restaurant where he dined with his wife, Catherine, and son, Elijah. "You know who I am, don't you?" Tyrell demanded, standing at the edge of their table. Richard's face paled. "Not here," he hissed, glancing nervously at his family. Tyrell ignored him. "I'm the son you abandoned," he said loudly, the words slicing through the air. Catherine's gasp echoed in the stunned silence. "Richard, is this true?" she asked, her voice trembling. Richard's carefully constructed life unraveled as Tyrell recounted the pain and struggles his mother endured. Catherine and Elijah, devastated by the revelation, demanded answers. Richard's attempts to justify his actions only deepened their anger and disappointment. The fallout was swift. Richard stepped down as CEO amidst the scandal, leaving Collins Associates in turmoil. Tyrell, though vindicated, felt no satisfaction. Conflicted about staying at the company, he sought advice from his mother. Amara reminded him that survival was its own form of justice. Her resilience inspired Tyrell to forge his own path, free from Richard's shadow. As Tyrell and Amara shared a quiet morning together, the weight of the past began to lift. Tyrell resolved to leave Collins Associates and build a future defined by his own choices. The truth had been revealed, and while it couldn't erase the pain, it offered a chance to move forward. Together, mother and son embraced a new chapter, standing tall against the shadows of their past.